למרכזים כמעט בתום מאושר דרכי הר דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו יהוה אליך ונשובה קדש קדש ימינו קדש ימינו כחדם עץ חיים היא למרכזים קימבה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו יהוה אליך ונשובה קדש קדש ימינו קדש ימינו כקדם. It's a tree of life to those who take hold of it, and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are shalom. Bring us back, Yahweh, to you, and we shall come. Renew our days as of old. Shalom. Just wanted to open up with a little melody. I said, I didn't want to just jump in dry. All right, this is going to be a fun one tonight, everyone. As you've seen from our title, another one bites the dust, debunked. And this is a Karaite Rabbi or Karaite Rabbi. And he says that he's exposing or debunking the fake Hebrew Israelites. That's what his whole take on everything is. He's debunking, right? I found this interesting. I said, I hate when people start talking about debunking stuff because I feel like, okay, people always say, I'm debunking this, I'm debunking that, and they really don't debunk anything. That's what I find. So I said, you know what? And during those times back in the day when people used to say that, you know, I didn't have no YouTube channel. I wasn't trying to be out and about in the limelight, shining a light on them. But I always said, man, I wish I had a channel. I would let them know y'all didn't debunk nobody, right? But I never had the opportunity. But here we are now. It's a new day and a new time. And I do have a channel. And I do have a show. My Take with Rosh Ya'acob. And that's me, Rosh Ya'acob. And I said I'm going to go ahead and look at this and see, did he really debunk anything? So just really wanted to look at it and see if he really debunked anything. The video is about 24 minutes long, so I should be able to get through the whole video, look at each and every instance of what he is talking about, and see what he quote unquote debunked or not. And should be able to work it from there. So with that said and done, want to get right into his video.
Shalom and welcome to all my brothers and sisters of all colors, all backgrounds. I don't care what color your skin tone is. I welcome you. Shalom to you. And may God bless you in your life. We are going to debunk these fake, phony, so-called Hebrew Israelites. The fake, phony movements that started in the late 60s, literally started in the late 60s. It's a very, very late cult. They did not exist before then. They're liars. The real truth is that real Jews, real Israelites, have always existed since the time of Moshe until today. And I will prove this today.
All right. Now, the first thing that strike me as odd is that, from my understanding, the Karaites or the Karaites don't believe in the Talmud, right? They weren't part of the Pharisaic brethren that became the rabbis. So when I see that he called himself a Karaite Jew, a Karaite rabbi, I was like, okay, that's different. I didn't know the Karaites or the Karaites called themselves their leaders rabbis. I could be wrong. But as far as I know, they don't really do that. So this kind of had me like, okay. All right, let's see where else he's going to go with this. So I found that very interesting. I like how he did the Dave Chappelle move. And this video is like 4 years old. So this is before Dave Chappelle, where now Dave Chappelle on his monologue came out and said, I denounce anti-Semitism, blah, blah, blah. And then he began to say stuff that people found anti-Semitic. So that's what he does. He says, oh yeah, all Jews of all colors, don't discriminate, this, that, other. And then he just goes right in and start digging into the West African Jews. Now, understand me. He's focusing on a certain set of what we would call Hebrew Israelites. That's who he's focusing on. Unfortunately, as he focuses on that set of Hebrew Israelites, unfortunately for himself, he's also focusing on us West African Jews who had the same or similar beliefs to them, as he makes fun, talks crazy about it. You want to see. I was really astounded when I seen this. I said, okay, he debunked. Okay, so we're going to get into this. Now, he's saying that Judaism and Jews have been around since the beginning, right? That's the same thing West African Jews are saying. That's the same thing Hebrew Israelites are saying. They're not saying that they just came about in the 60s. He's saying that they just came about in the 60s. That's not what they're saying. That's not what the West African Jews are saying. We're not saying, oh yeah, by the way, we just came around in the 60s. That's when we came around in the 60s. You know, they're not saying that, and we aren't saying it. So some of the things he's going to be saying is going to be kind of confusing. So, but I'm going to pause it and really get through it. All right, so I'm not going to pause it too much because I know y'all like, come on, let him talk. Let him talk, Rosh. Let him talk. I'm going to let him talk. I'm going to let him talk.
First and foremost, DNA. A lot of these fake, phony movements, these Cushite remnants, are against DNA. Why is that? Because Cush is the father of all the black race.
All right, now, this took me by surprise when he said this. He says Cush is the father of all the black races. That's what this Karaite said. This guy said he debunked something, said something this foolish. Cush When you go to the Hebrew, if you go to the text, Cush is what they translate in the English as Ethiopia. All the black races, as he put it, did not come out of Ethiopia. From what most of the commentators normally say, and I'm surprised that he's not saying this, but most of them say that all the black races, most of the Ashkenazic commentators, let me clarify my point, say is that, oh, they came from Acham or Ham, right? That's what they say. Because they understand that Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan, Cush, I'm gonna bring up the different verses right now. Because this guy right here, he says Cush, right? So let me focus on him real quick. Let y'all focus on him. This guy, while I pull this up, this guy says Cush formed all the black races. When he said that, I was like, wow, that's kind of racial. Why would he say that? Especially when the people who try to use the racist text from the Midrash Rabbah, which tries to denote Acham as being turning black, right? Those people make it clear that Ham, all of Acham, all of Ham's descendants are black. So why is this guy pointing out that it was only Cush? Let me bring this. Let me bring this part over here. Hold on. For some reason, my mouse won't let me bring it over. Here we go. If you don't get over here. Thank you. All right. Now let's look at this. We're going to go to the actual scripture. Because if he's saying that, then he's really messing up, right? So I don't know if he was mad at some Hebrew Israelites and when he made this and he said, I'm just going to go in and say some crazy stuff. I don't know, right? But what he's saying is ludicrous at this point, right? Let me see if I can bring it down a little bit. Let me move my man. I'm just going to close my image up so we can look right at the text. All right, so the sons of Ham or Acham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush begot Nimrod. He became a mighty one on the earth. Then we look and we see that Cush's kingdom through Nimrod was where? It was in Mesopotamia. Babel, Iraq, Akkad, Calneh, and Atlanta, Shinar. From that land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Kala, and Resen between Nineveh and Kala. Now, all this belongs to Cush. Not even just talking about the Ethiopia part. So if he's saying Cush, then that means Abraham was living amongst Cushites, right? Which we understand and agree with, because Dr. Windsor did a good job of breaking that down in his work From Babylon to Timbuktu. So now as you look at this whole situation right here, he tries to negate Mitzrayim and Canaan. And he doesn't even speak on Put at all, right? The reason why he tries to do this is because if you focus on, if you say Achim or Ham is the father of all the black races, right? Then that would mean that Egypt was black. So now, if Egypt is black and Canaan is black, we have a problem, right? Because that would mean the Israelites who lived amongst them had to be what? Black. If Egypt's black, Canaan's black, it's black, then guess what? The Israelites had to be black. Can't have that. Can't say that. So we got to make it like the Israelites was a whole different, the Canaanites was a whole different shade of people. We got to make it like the Egyptians was a whole different shade of people. Because if we say that they were black, like some dictionaries say all of Ham's children or descendants were the black races, then if we was to say that and to go with that, then when we see the scenarios where you have the Egyptians and the Israelites, and you can't tell one from another, as some historians and archaeologists say, when you seen the Canaanites and the Israelites, you couldn't tell one from another, that would mean that they had to look like them. That would mean that they had to be black. He don't want to hear that. He don't want to say that. So now he had to come up with this crazy concoction that all the black people came from Cush. That's what he's saying, which is crazy. And then what I find disrespectful is, for most people who might know about Israeli culture, the way that they say the N-word, and I'm not saying he's trying to say that, but it kind of made it fishy, right? The way that they say the N-word in the state of Israel, when they talking to Beta Yisrael, or any of the other, where the black Canaanites is there and Samaritans is there, that's black, when they talk to them, they call them Cushi. That's their way of saying the N-word. So when he came straight out talking about Cush, I was like, whoa, and these so-called people from Cush, I'm like, hold up, buddy. Kind of pushing it. Now, most people don't know that, but guess what? I do. So when I hear you saying it and particularly pointing out Cush, yeah, I got to understand that Cush is what they translate as Ethiopia. But I also know that in the state of Israel, they use it as a derogatory term when speaking to different black people. Look it up in any video. Go to Google, type in as Cushy, a derogatory term in the state of Israel. Matter of fact, let me see if I can do that here. Because I felt like he didn't do a lot of proving stuff. Let me see. Is Cushy a derogatory word? Let me not say word, let me say slur. In the state of Israel. Let's see. It pulled the rest says Jewish singer Mordecai. Right? A Jewish singer, Mordecai Ben David, uses racial slur to describe Barack Obama at Jerusalem concert. The ancient Hebrew term was used to describe Ethiopians, but it has since become a pejoratory word to describe all black people. So yes, that is the N-word in the state of Israel, to call somebody Cushy. So when I hear him say that, the first thing pop in my mind, one guy put this, you can't debunk him because he's not against black people, but then he comes right out and start calling people Cushy. Here it is right here. It says a popular Jewish singer received a rapturous applause and cheers when he used a derogatory racial slur. A derogatory racial slur? Cushy. Let's keep it in mind, because this guy's going to keep pushing his cush out his mouth. And I kept saying, is he trying to be racial on the low? Because why he keep talking about cush? Like that's his favorite word to say. Because in his mind, he knows that for the most part, he feel like the people he's talking about don't know what he's doing. But when I heard it, because I know, I know, buddy. So when I heard it, I said, wait a minute, why he keep saying cush and cushy? Wait, look what it says. It says a popular Jewish singer received a rapturous applause and cheers when he used a derogatory slur to describe Barack Obama at a concert in Jerusalem. Mordecai Ben Dawid referred to the departing U.S. president as a cushy. That means the N-word in the state of Israel. Think about that, brothers and sisters, when you might be walking up to these people, they just come out calling you cush out the blue. They doing it for a reason. They know you don't know. So they know some of y'all don't know, so I'm putting you on game. When it's somebody from the state of Israel or is part of the Ashkenazi community or maybe even Sephardic community call you cushy, they call you the N-word. That's what they're doing. So even though I know the word means Ethiopian, I know that, but the way you're using it, you're using it as the N-word. All right, I took time out for that. My bad. I took time out for that. Let me go back to the other stuff we supposed to be going. Let's go back to his video and finish. I just needed to point that out because he's just saying it with ease. All the black races are cushy. But I'm quite sure it might be some people in the comments saying, no, he didn't mean it that way. He didn't mean it that way. You be the judge. Because he's going to, this is the beginning. He's debunking, right? He ain't debunked Jack yet. But let's go see what he's going to debunk.
From the father, Ham. Ham had a son named Cush, who fathered the entire black race. Now, DNA proves the origins of...
He said, Cush fathered the entire black race. All right, hold on. I'm sorry. Every time he don't debunk something, I'm going to put up this picture right here. So I'm going to let y'all know now. So every time he fake debunks something, I'm going to put this up, showing that he's been debunked. You've been debunked, buddy. That's debunked. All the black races did not come from Cush. All the black races did not come from Kush. You've been debunked. You've been debunked. Anyway, let's go back to what he said.
Every black person on this earth. If you haven't done DNA or you don't deal with DNA, here it is. The origins will point for every black person on earth, the Horn of Africa, as the starting point. This is why they don't like DNA. The starting point for every Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Samaritan, and so forth, guess where our origins begin? The Levant Corridor. And where is that? Right there, where Israel is, Jerusalem, and so forth.
Now, the crazy thing again about that is when you look at Nimrod, and you look at all the areas that him and his people conquered and ruled over, Cush ruled over that area that he calls the Levant. We've seen the places from Genesis chapter 10, where it tells us where Cush was at. So, and then any historian knows that everyone's origin comes from southeastern Africa. Everyone's. And that's historical. So again, he's been debunked. That comment he said was debunked. Now, let's look at some other things he said. Oh man, I went all the way out. My bad, everyone. So let's look at some other things he says. So he says that about DNA. He's talking about DNA, right? This is the thing that's crazy. Jewelry or Judaism does not look at DNA to prove if you're Jewish. I repeat, Judaism does not look at DNA to prove that you're Jewish. For those of y'all on YouTube, you can go back to my channel. And for those of y'all can get there, is Ya'acob Avraham. Ya'acob Avraham. Just like my name is on YouTube, on Facebook, it's the same way. And you'll see on my Hebrew channel, I had a video that I made to some Karens who was upset about Black Jews being in a group. And I showed them within that video how the Black Jews, how Judaism, does not look at DNA to determine if you're Jewish. He knows this. He knows this. You have to be born of a Jewish mother. That's how Judaism looks at it. So they have you running around, I got this Y cell and all this, and the DNA this, and you run around talking about all these different genes you got, and I got the Aaronic gene and all this other stuff, right? And they sitting back giggling because they don't look at none of that. Don't look at none of that to tell if you're a Jew. The way they tell if you're a Jew if you're born of a Jewish mother. The way they tell if you're a Hebrew if you're born of a Hebraic mother. That's it. They don't care about DNA. He's talking all this stuff about DNA to try to throw you off, to get you focused on DNA. They don't care about DNA. That's why I normally say to people, I say, if you born from a woman, that's born from a woman, that's born from a woman who was born from a woman, go back way back to the generations, to the transatlantic slave trade, and that woman came over here in the transatlantic slave trade. If you derive from any other women, then you are a Jew. Because it goes by the mother, not the father. I know that hurt many people's egos. A lot of brothers get mad about that, hurt their egos, right? Now, I know some people say, well, can it go by both? Yeah, it can go by both. I'm not going to say it can't go by both. All right? But that's not how they look at it. And that's what I want to point out before we get in a debate over that. They don't look at it like that you're looking at DNA. They don't look at it about your father and who your father is. Go back and read Dr. Yosef Ben Yachanan's book, We the Black Jews. He makes it clear within that book that what they look at is if you are born of a Jewish mother. That's what they look at. Look at the interview he had with the rabbi where he destroyed him in that debate. The first thing he tell him is, I'm double Jewish. I'm born of a Jewish mother and I got a Jewish father. And the guy was like, the father doesn't count, the father doesn't count, the father doesn't count. Go back and look at it. It's a classic video. It's on YouTube. Dr. Yosef Ben Yachanan debates Ashkenazi rabbi. I think that's what it's called. Or debates a Jewish rabbi. It's right on YouTube. Find that video. You'll see that part where he makes it clear that they don't think about DNA. So why is he trying to get us to focus on DNA when he doesn't care about DNA? I don't care nothing about DNA at all. Right? Don't think nothing about DNA. But they got us running around, oh, my DNA this, my DNA that. This whole group set up to argue about DNA. And I'm sitting back thinking to myself, they don't care nothing about DNA. You sitting there trying to prove about your DNA to somebody who cares less about DNA. They don't care about DNA. All right. I digress. Let's go back to some other stuff. Let's see what else he got to say.
This is why they don't like DNA. This is one major problem they don't like to deal with.
They don't care about DNA. Why are we talking about DNA?
So, Deuteronomy 28:68, their most powerful proof text, the one they use to convince uneducated biblical students to their movements.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 28:68 speaks about slave ships and slavery. Well, they say, who else? We went through slavery, slave ships, we have it in the bag. We are the Israelites. Again, no, you don't read in context. Verse 50.
All right, now, this way he has this wrong. It's not just about Deuteronomy 28:68. It's about the entire chapter of Deuteronomy 28. The entire chapter. Not just one verse, the entire chapter. What do I mean by that? Same way we look at an animal to see if it's kashrut, to see if it's a kosher animal, right? What it has to do? It has to be cloven-footed, split the hoof, chew the cud. If it splits the hoof and chew the cud, but it's not cloven-footed, you can't eat it. If it's cloven-footed and split the hoof, but don't chew the cud, you can't eat it. It has to do all of those things. So what the West African Jews and the Israelite use for Deuteronomy as a proof text is not just about no slavery. Because like, as you say and other people say, everybody went through slavery at one point in time. Even the Europeans during their barbaric stage, when the Germanic tribes went through slavery through the Greeks and the Romans, right? So everybody went through slavery here and there. So it's not about slavery. It's about the entire thing. When you look at the entirety of the book of Devarim, especially verse 28, when you look at that and you look at all those curses, all 98 of those curses, there's only one group of people that all 98 of those curses have been upon and still are upon to a degree. It's only one group of people. So yeah, you might can go and say, well, these people went through this, and these people over here went through that, and these people over here went through that. Well, okay. That's just like with the animal when we try and figure out who's the kosher animal. This animal splits the hoof, but this animal chews the cud. But this animal is cloven-footed. This animal cloven-footed and split the hoof, right? What are we looking for? We looking for the animal that does everything. So when you look at Deuteronomy, there's only one group of people that went through all of those curses. Not just one here and there. All of them. And that is us. Sorry. So the idea of somebody saying, bing, bing, we got slavery, that's what makes us, is false. That's not what the West African Jews are looking at, and that's not what the Hebraic community, the Hebrew Israelite community is looking at. So again, you've been debunked. Been debunked, son. Been debunked again, right? So let's go back. Let's see what else he got to say.
52 specifically says, verse 52 says that these abominations, everything that's going to happen of these events, will happen in the land that I promised your forefathers, which is Israel, not Africa. When did this happen? In the year 70, when the second temple was destroyed by the Romans.
Now, in the year 70, when the temple was destroyed by the Romans, everything that was told was going to happen in the year 66 AD, before the year 70 AD took place. Right? And then you might say, well, what you mean was foretold and took place? Our Rabbi Ya'acob ben Yosef, foretold about a time when an army, where the city will be encompassed by armies. Talking about the Romans, and said, when you see this, the abomination that caused desolation standing in the holy place, he said, leave, flee, don't come back. Just go, leave at this point. Now, many people who followed the Rabbi left. Many who did not follow him or did not believe stayed. And they was the ones that was crushed in 70 AD. But this whole idea of 70 AD still is talking about us. I don't understand why when he went back to 70 AD, he assumed that we was going to say that wasn't talking about us. That's why I felt like he went crazy with his debunking. Because I said, hold on, kid, that's talking about us. 70 AD, we still saying it's talking about us. You want to say we only talked about 1960. Who said we just only talked about 1960? You started off with it. 1960. We're talking about the whole thing. So I was confused as he was pointing us out as if this didn't have nothing to do with us when we saying that that's us. So trying to use that as a way of saying that don't got nothing to do with us, again, you was debunked. Who's debunked? We saying it's talking about us. Hello? Why would you think we wasn't saying that was us back then, that we talked about some people from Africa? What made you do we talk about people from Africa? What in the world is going on here? Okay, I'm sorry, but you debunked yourself with that one. But I'll let you continue.
In the war of the Romans and the Jews between the years 66 and 70, the Second Temple was destroyed. And we have well-documented evidence, a lot of it, that the actual Jews, myself and my forefathers, were taken on slave ships to Egypt.
We saying that was our forefathers.
Another point that the verse 68 says is that no one will want to buy you. Like, you just will, nobody will want to buy you.
Oh, I'm glad he got to this part.
Take them out of here. We don't want them. That's exactly what happened to the real Jews. This is well documented.
No, it's not.
That did not happen to the African Americans today, their forefathers. They were sold. They were brought into homes. A lot of them lived with families. They were, in the end, it was horrible. But it did not happen that way. They were sold all over the place. So it does not match the slavery of the South.
All right, now. And he claims he knows Hebrew, so that I was kind of in shock. And he should know halakha, right? He should know halakha. But then again, he says he's a Karaite Rabbi, so maybe because he don't study halakha. Or they had their own kind of halakha. I don't know. But let me show you something. Let me show you something. When he said that part right there, I was like, okay, you are my corner right here. All right, let me give this. Let's go. All right. So I'm gonna take my picture down again so we can look at the text. All right, so it says, Wahashivcha Yahweh Mitzrayim Ba'a Niyot Badarech Asher Amarti Lacha Lo Tosif Od Li Orata. And I will take you back, Yahweh. So Yahweh is saying this. So the Almighty is saying that he will take us back to Mizraim in ships, by the way of which he said that we would never again see it. Right? Now, look at what it says. Wahith Makartam, and there you will be offered for sale. Shem, and there, and you will be offered for sale. Shem there. la'aviecha, to your enemies. La'avadim as male slaves. Wa li shafarchot, and female slaves, right? Wa'ain, and no one kane will buy you. Now, he's looking at that word kane as to be buy because that's how it's translated, right? But let me show you something. This word kane or kana, let me show you another way they translate it. So we see it says acquired, buy, possess, but look at this. Recover, redeem, right? What is that saying? It says no one will redeem you. It's not saying no one will buy you. No one will redeem you. Why am I saying the word redeem? Because it is a mitzvah for your family to redeem you if you are in slavery. Don't believe me? Okay, let's check it out. I can show you better than I can tell you. Don't believe me when I say this is a mitzvah? Okay, I'm going to take you to a popular website called My Jewish Learning. Let me take my picture down again. All right, so look at what it says. If your kinsman under you continues in strait, literally if your brother becomes poor, and must give himself over to you, do not subject them to the treatment of a slave. He shall remain with you as a hired or bound laborer. He shall serve with you only until the Jubilee year. Then he and his children and himself shall be free from your authority. He shall go back to his family and return to his ancestral holding. For they are my servants, whom I have freed from the land of Egypt. They may not give themselves over to servitude. You shall not rule over him ruthlessly. You shall fear your Elohim. Now listen to this part right here. This is the part that ties in to what we're saying, right? It says, if your brother becomes poor. Now, this is a crucial cause. If your brother becomes poor, it says, even in early Israelite tribal society, brother was not only the son of your parent, am I my brother's keeper, but also a kinsman. So in other words, if someone in your family becomes poor, just as an Israelite is obligated to protect, redeem, and avenge his brother, he is also has his obligation to his kinsman. So in other words, you are to redeem your brother from slavery. And let me see if they got the verse. That's what I was hoping he was going to have in here. So the idea of this mitzvah, and I should have had my Taryag mitzvot. I could have told y'all exactly which mitzvah it was. Forgive me for that, but I'll be more thorough next time. But anyone who knows Torah understands and knows that it is a law that says if your brother goes into slavery, then it is your obligation to redeem him. That is what that redemption is talking about. That redemption is not talking about nobody will buy you. It's saying you can be offered up for sale. You can be sold. You're going to be sold. Nobody's going to redeem you. Did anybody come and redeem us? I didn't see nobody come and redeem us. Did anybody ever come and redeem us? We still here. We still basically in bondage. You see what happened to Tyree Nichols. And you might say, well, that's under black people did that. Okay, black people that's under the system. We had during the Hellenistic days, it was Israelites who was right on the side of the Grecian government that was killing other Israelites. That's one of the reasons why the book of Maccabees was not placed into the canonization, because it exposed that you had Israelites fighting and killing each other. So, but the idea here is about redemption. So again, as he was saying that it was all about the other thing, guess what? He's been debunked. Again, because this was all about redemption. This had nothing to do with selling. As you seen, that word also is translated as redeemed or redemption. So let's see what else he got to say. He was debunked on that. Let's keep going. It's taking me a little longer than I thought, but we're gonna get through this whole thing because I'm gonna deal with this.
At all. It matches beautifully with Jewish history, Israelite real history after the year 70. Perfectly. And from there we went from place to place, eventually Europe. This debunks the Khazar lie. The Khazar lie is another stupidity that they love to talk about. These are Khazars from Europe. They love their 13th tribe baloney book of fairy tales, which is debunked by actual, again, evidence of history. And every scholar laughs at that book. Especially the recent scholars, that book is a joke. Just like these movements, a complete joke.
All right. Now, for those of y'all who might don't know what he's talking about, that was debunked. And that was one of the things back in the day when I heard they said, oh, that was debunked. And I said, we was talking about the 13th tribe. I said, the 13th tribe was debunked. I said, who debunked it? It was just debunked. Okay, well, where was debunked at? Oh, it was debunked. I said, boy, I hate when they use that term. I said, but I'm going to use it back on them. I'm going to use it back on them. That's why I'm really, really into this one tonight. Let's think about this. Here you had a book. I'm gonna bring it up. Right? This book is called The 13th Tribe. This book is hated, right? They hated this guy for making this book. This guy mysteriously died by a case where they tried to say it was suicide, but it was clear that he was murdered. This guy was killed for writing this book that was so-called debunked, that people laugh at. We laugh at that book. That's not how scholastics work, right? Yeah, you might have a consensus of scholars and how they feel about stuff. That's just their consensus, right? In order to debunk something, you got a scholarly. You got to use scholarship to dissect it. You can't just come and say, oh, I disagree with it, and because I'm so-and-so, that mean I debunked it. Oh, we modern people, we disagree with it, so that mean we debunked it. You're talking crazy. What is going on here? Right? That's not how debunking works. In order to debunk something, you have to write a book and point out stuff that's discrepancies and hope that there's enough stuff that'll make me say, maybe this is wrong. Maybe that's wrong, right? You can't just be some pseudo scholar that just got into some movement and jump up there and say, I'm gonna debunk it. That's not how debunking works, right? Now, what they don't want you to know, when he kept saying, your book, we laugh at your book, it's not our book. Whose book is it? See this guy right here? I'm gonna take my picture down. I want y'all to make sure y'all can see this guy. See this guy right here? This guy is a Hungarian Jew. He's an Ashkenazi. This Ashkenazi wrote this book. He wrote the book. Not a Hebrew Israelite, not a West African Jew. This Ashkenazi guy right here wrote this book, right? Let's look at the Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's see what they say about it. Let me see if I can open this up, make this bigger, take this out the way. No, that's messing it up. So let me see. Maybe I can make it bigger. No. Oh, there we go. Let's say sometimes you gotta make it small to make it fit. All right, Arthur Koestler, born September the 5th, 1905, in Budapest, Hungary. So he's a Hungarian. He's an Ashkenazi Jew. He was found dead March the 3rd, 1983. It says Hungarian-born British novelist, journalist, and critic best known for his novel Darkness of Noon. Koestler attended University of Vienna before entering journalism, serving as a war correspondent at the British newspaper News Chronicle during the Spanish Civil War. Koestler was imprisoned by fascists, an experience he recounted in the Spanish Testament. This experience and those leading to his break with the Communist Party after reflecting in the Darkness of Noon, published 30 languages. Let's see if it's going to bring up his work. The 13th Tribe. All right, now it talks about his work, The 13th Tribe, which he wrote in 1976. It says a controversial study of the origins of Jewish people. Now, Arthur Koestler wrote this book about his own people. Let's get this straight. This guy wrote this book about his own people. Is also a rabbi in the state of Israel right now. I can't think of his name offhand, but if y'all want me to put it in the chat, I will put it in the chat later when I get his name. But there's a rabbi in the state of Israel right now who also ascribes to these same things that Arthur Koestler said. Now, what does Arthur Koestler say, right? Let's go back. I'm gonna try to go back to that page, right? Let's see what he says, right? What does he say? Let me go to the other book. Let me come out of this one. All right. Now, I'm gonna click on this. Let's read what he actually said. All right. The original edition. Koestler advances the thesis that Ashkenazi Jews are not descended from the historical Israelites of antiquity, but from Khazars. This is what Koestler says, right? So Koestler says, and let me, so you can see that I'm not making this up. Let me take it down. Koestler says, that the Ashkenazi Jews are not descended from the historical Israelites of antiquity. He's talking about his own people. It's not Hebrew Israelite. Your phony book. Your phony book. What you mean our phony book? He didn't write this book in his mind saying one day a Hebrew Israelite gonna pick this book up and it's gonna be a book that they're gonna love. He wasn't thinking about us when he wrote this book. He was thinking about something that he, through his scholarship, felt like he wanted to expose. That's what he was doing. For one reason or another, he decided to expose us to some historical stuff that happened that we had no idea happened. Because it's not taught in any curriculum in America. And I'm not sure if it's taught in Europe or anywhere over there either. This is something that was highly, highly secretive, that was kept secret for a very long time. And Kostler decided to expose this about his own people. That's what this book is about, that y'all laugh at, and it's our little phony book. It's not our little phony anything. We didn't write the book. So again, before I go any further, since it's being known that we didn't write the book, debunked. Debunked. It's not our little phony book. We didn't write the book. Debunked. Debunked, right? This had to. I'm sorry, I had to. Anyway. Woo! Anyway, it says, Kostler wrote this, that they didn't descend from the historical Israelites of antiquity. Tell us more, Kostler. Well, where did they come from? According to him, they came from the Khazars, a Turkic people originating in and populating an empire north of and between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Kostler's hypothesis is that the Khazars, who converted to Judaism in the 8th century, hello, historical accounts, Kostler brought all this stuff out about his people. This wasn't a Hebrew Israelite that wrote this book. This wasn't a West African Jew that wrote this book. This was an Ashkenazi Jew who did not have in his mind, oh, one day the blacks going to get this book and they're going to feel this way. He just wrote a book. Said, I'm going to expose something that's been hidden from people. And when you read this, your mind going to be blown because you're like, wow, I never heard of this before. And you're going to start digging into it as we did and see that, oh, this stuff is matching up with history, right? Look at what he says. Kostler's hypothesis is that the Khazars, who converted, a whole nation of people converted to Judaism in the 8th century, migrated westwards into current Eastern Europe, primarily Ukraine. Who's at war right now? Where Russia? Ukraine? Primarily Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, Hungary, and Germany. So he's saying that he is these people because that's where he's from. He's telling us a story about his own people. We not saying this. He's saying this, right? In the 12th and 13th century, when the Khazar Empire was collapsing. So as the empire was collapsing, these people left and went to these different areas. This was his hypothesis. Excellent book. They can laugh at it all they want. That's not going to make me not tell people to go get this and research it for yourself. Laugh at the book all you want. Disprove it. Don't tell me it's being debunked and people laugh at it, but you never give me any proof of why it was debunked. Right. And then this man was killed. I want to see if I could pull up the mysterious death. If I could pull up the mysterious death. And I spelled his name wrong. Dangers of Devotion. This is from the New York. This is from the New Yorker, popular newspaper in New York. It says, on the evening of March 1st, 1983, in their London home, Arthur Koestler and his wife, Cynthia, swallowed lethal quantities of barbiturates, committing suicide. On March 3rd, their bodies were found. A note was left by Koestler with the lines added by Cynthia. From the note left, it was apparent that Koestler expected his wife to survive him. Koestler was 77 with Parkinson's disease, but Cynthia was 55, seemed vigorous. Now, out the blue, this guy supposed to just took barbiturates and left this note. He was thinking his wife was going to survive, but she, a 55-year-old woman, because her husband killed himself, she couldn't help but kill herself too. This is what they want us to believe, right? Now, let's go back. Let's see. Committed suicide. And this is how all of it. I was trying to see the apparent suicides. Let's see what this is. So he says no suspicious circumstances. Now, even though we see that they're saying it was a suicide, there's been other people, of course, the conspiracy theorists. So I'm not going to go, I don't want to go to them, I want to go to what y'all would consider reliable sources, even though sometimes conspiracy theorists are reliable. But I don't want to take this. So let me not go too far down this line, because it's taking us away from this guy and me debunking the debunker. So let me go back to the debunking. But I just wanted to point out when he was saying that this is not me. This is not our book. This is a book that was written by one of them, by Ashkenazic Jew, about his own people. Now watch this. Now this is on the Sefaria website. This is the Kazuri, right? The Kuzari is a book that was written by Yehuda Halevi in Spain in 1075. Well, this is how long he lived, from 1075 to 1141. Originally written in Arabic. What does it describe? I'm glad you asked, because he wants us to think this is some mess Koestler just came out his mind with. He just, all he had Parker said, all he was going, he just came up with this baloney stuff, right? No. He was quoting from Jewish sources. He was quoting from Hebraic sources, from the sages of old in Spain, who wrote this down and recorded this in a book called Kuzari. Right? And we can go in the story, but let me just read the prefix for it. So the author is Yehuda Halevi. That is the author. Okay? So again, not a Hebrew Israelite, not a West African Jew. This is a Sephardic Jew named Yehuda Halevi. And I believe one of the brothers I know on here proved his lineage and traced his lineage back to Yehuda Halevi. So I know if he picks this up, he might look at this and say, okay, let me dig into this. So he knows this, right? If this is truly his descendant, he wrote this book, right? It was originally written in Arabic. It describes how the king of the Khazars. Khazars? Isn't that what Arthur Koestler was telling us about? These group of Khazars? This is bewildering. I thought it was debunked. It was debunked. Okay. Let's see what it says. It describes how the king of the Khazars, an Asian tribe that converted to Judaism in the 8th century, in an attempt to determine which is the true religion, invites representatives of each of the 3 major religions to come and explain his beliefs. The group includes a Muslim imam, a Christian priest, and a rabbi. The king is won over by the rabbi's arguments. During the ensuing dialogue, the rabbi demonstrates the superiority of his faith by bringing clear proof to the biblical account of the giving of the Torah at Sinai and explaining the commandments in rational terms. Instead of using complicated philosophical ideas, he bases his arguments on history, tradition, and common sense. In the introduction, the author states that the purpose of his work is to reply to the attacks of those who wish to denigrate Judaism. The Khazari is considered one of the most important, let me say this again, the Khazari is considered one of the most important works of Jewish apologetica that has ever been reprinted many times. That is apologetica, and it's been reprinted many times in several languages. So again, and I just want to get this clear. Arthur Koestler, in his book, The 13th Tribe, is bringing and basing everything from this historical account that did take place in the 8th century. So again, when you say, wait, they laugh at that book. Well, of course, if the book is talking about you and you want to make light of it, of course you're going to laugh at it. Why wouldn't you? Why are you not going to laugh at it? Of course you're going to laugh. Ha 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 ha. This book means nothing. Debunked. 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 All right, so let me let him finish.
That being said, let's look at what the church fathers in Europe, where they say we come from, where we were so loved, we came from Europe, we were converts in the 8th and 9th century, from their own lips.
Again, no one said that the Christianity loved you. When the Khazars converted to Judaism, it was considered Jews through their conversion. There was no love through Christians. So talking about the church fathers, I don't even understand the point of bringing them up, because who cares about the church fathers? I don't even know who those guys are. It tickles me when people bring up the church fathers as if they're going to expose something on me, and I don't know who these guys are. I have no idea who the church fathers are, but yet they talk about the church fathers, the church fathers, the church fathers. Crazy, right? So let's see what else he got to say.
8th and 9th century, right? We just came out of nowhere from Europe, claiming to be Jews with our fake Judaism, right? All right, well, let's check it out for ourselves. Ignatius, a bishop of Antioch, in the year 98, that's 28, if you do your math, after the year 70, 98 AD, that's 28 years
what he has
later.
to say?
He wrote, "For if we are still practicing Judaism, we admit that we have not received God's favor. It is wrong to talk about Jesus Christ and live like Jews, not Hebrew Israelites, Jews, for Christianity did not believe in Judaism, but Judaism in Christianity. Looks like Judaism still existed in the 1st century. That's about 2,000 years ago. We have more. Justin Martyr in the year 138 AD. I will put the references down below. You were taken out of your land
about Justin Martyr and all them people.
And before your very eyes, not one of you will be permitted to enter your city of Jerusalem, you filthy Jews. Your circumcision of the flesh is a mark that can distinguish you from other men, as separate from Jesus Christ." Again, we came from Jerusalem and ended up in Europe. This is just a handful. I'll leave the links. You can read more.
That doesn't prove that you came from Jerusalem and ended up in Europe, because the idea or thing from us is that we came from Israel and ended up in Europe. That's what we're saying. So you pointing out what some church fathers said, which really is irrelevant because no one cares about what the church fathers said, but you pointing out what the church fathers said doesn't mean anything. It really blows my mind when people say the church fathers say this, and it's like, now you're supposed to say, dang, the church fathers said, guess that's what it is then, since the church fathers said it. Nobody care about what the church fathers said. Who cares? And how does that prove anything about you by pointing out what the church father says? It doesn't prove nothing about you. Talk about what the church father says. Doesn't prove anything about you at all. So I don't even understand why he even put this part in here. I was just like, okay, let's see what else. I think he's going to talk some more about the church fathers that we don't care nothing about.
Tons and tons and tons of statements written almost 2,000 years ago, debunking the Khazar myth, fairy tale they love so much.
The church fathers saying what they saying, they're not debunk all the information I just showed you all about the Khazars and the Khazuri and all that stuff, and what Arthur Koestler wrote in his book, The 13th Tribe, was not debunked by reading those few lines about what the church fathers said. You could have kept that. I don't know why he put that in there. It's like, okay, the church father, like we're gonna say the church father said it. Okay, well, I guess we can believe those guys. Don't care about them. What's going on here? So again, the church father said it. Well, guess what? You've been again debunked. You've been debunked. Nobody cares about what the church fathers say. Only you care about it.
Another problem, their Edomite nonsense. Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 7 says, you must not mistreat the Edomite converts because they are your brothers.
Okay.
So therefore, you were a stranger in Egypt. Just as you were a stranger in Egypt, so too shall you not mistreat the strangers.
Okay.
Over and over and over again, we find passages not to mistreat the strangers. And what do? They curse the nations. Okay? Edomite this, Edomite that.
All right. So you tell he don't like the stuff about the Edomites, right? But let's look at what he's saying. The Israelites were to treat the stranger who wanted to dwell among them in a good standing. So if you have some foreigners that want to dwell among you, that want to be a part of you, that accept you for you, that's good. But you can't separate the people from the book. You can't say, I want the Torah, but I don't want the people. I want the blessings, but I don't want the people. I want to be able to live this life or that life, but I could care less about the people. Can't do that, right? So through time and through different things that's happening, of course, because people have been carried a certain way by the Ashkenazic community. I remember I read the line and there was one part in Dr. Ben Yos, Dr. Ben Yakanan's book, We the Black Jews, where he talks about coming into a Knesset or shul and people seeing him that he was black, and the first thing they say was, when did you convert? You saying, oh, Hebrew Israelites do this, that, or other. Well, guess what? You're not supposed to do that. If you feel like somebody converted, you're supposed to welcome them as your brother. You're not supposed to say, when you converted, prove to me about your conversion. I need to know more about your conversion. What are you talking about? And I'm not even talking about leadership. I'm talking about a regular parishioner. Just walk up to you. When did you convert? Then when you say, I was born, I never met a black Jew before, except Sammy Davis Jr. Like, what is going on here? So, no. So, what he's trying to point out, you saying, well, they can show the converts a little more love. Number one, you saying you're not a convert. So if you say you're a convert, maybe they would show you a little more love. You saying you not, you saying that you the real thing and they ain't nothing. So how you think they're going to show you some love? Especially with the things you about to get into saying. You ain't said it yet. I'm trying to hurry up and get there, but I better keep cutting it off because you touching so much stuff that I want to talk about it. I think if it gets to 10:30, I'm just going to stop, and I might have to do a part 2 if I don't get past all of this, where I come back and talk about some more stuff with you. I just had to do a part 2 because I really want to get through this video. I didn't want to rush through it. I wanted to take time and really just tear apart every argument you have, and every time I tear apart one of your arguments, I want to put up that picture saying you've been debunked. So I think I'm running out of time. I'm going to give it a little longer because I don't want to have people on too long, because I know at a certain time people are going to just tune you out, and I don't want that to happen. So it's 10:18 now. So I'm going to give it 12 more minutes. So I know I'm not going to get through it. I'm going to give it 12 more minutes, and I'm going to end that out, and then I'll come back next week with part 2. I didn't realize it was going to take that long, but I really wanted to give clarity and understanding of what he's saying, because he's saying some stuff that's ridiculous. And I can't just let it fly by as if he's not saying it.
We see that the Edomites are not what these fake phony movements say they are. They don't even know what an Edomite is. They wouldn't know what an Edomite is if their life depended on it.
Now, I don't know how he's saying we see that the Edomites are not what the Hebrew Israelites are saying they are, when he didn't. All he did was read that we supposed to treat the Edomites and other foreigners, if they convert or if they strive to keep Torah and want to dwell among us, that we are to treat them as a brother and not to harass them, right? Which is, I believe, is the scripture that he's reading from. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, I see that. I understand that. I'm with you. I got you. But at the same time, that don't now say that Edom is not who we say Edom is. What you talking about? So let me let him go a little bit further, because I want to see if he's going to bring clarity to this. And this probably be the last thing I debunk for the night. I've been debunking them all night. This will be the last thing I'm going to debunk tonight. I want to see if that guy who claimed I didn't debunk him is going to be on there now talking about I didn't debunk. Because I've been debunking all night, and I'm going to keep on debunking. So let's keep going.
In Malachi chapter 1, verses 4 and 5, it says, Edom says, we are shattered, but we will rebuild the ruins.
Okay.
And God says, they may build, but I will tear it down. Mm-hmm. They may be called the wicked country, and the people with whom Yahweh is angry forever. Your own eyes shall see this, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. Mm-hmm. It's a big contradiction there. saying they will not rebuild. Every time they try to think that they're mighty, they will be destroyed.
Now, he said there's a big contradiction there, right? It's gonna be the last thing. Oh, y'all gonna love this one. This gonna be the last thing. Stay tuned. Well, how much time I got? 10 minutes. Okay. I'm gonna close out on this one, right? What he's basically trying to say, I want to let him say it. I want him to say it. Let him say it. Go ahead.
And that's exactly what the true Edomites did. They were removed from history, period. They don't even know what the Edomites are. So therefore, if they're trying to say the great America and the white race is Edom, which is complete stupidity, they have a big problem. Because it goes against the prophecies. They would never be mighty and a mighty cities and their walls built big. It goes against the prophecies, period.
All right. I don't know what this is when I said, okay, maybe he is a Karaite, right? Maybe he is a Karaite, right? Because the sages do not agree with him. You might say, what do you mean? What do you mean they don't agree with him? Okay, let's look at this. I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna close out right after this. All right, so Midrash Tanhuma, right? Now, this is the Midrash Tanhuma. It's from Parashat Vayetze. This is when our forefather, Ya'acob or Yisrael, is leaving the land. And he's on his way, traveling on his way to Haran, to his uncle Lavan's house. He's on his way there, right? On his way there, he stops and he has this dream. This dream about a ladder. Y'all gonna love this, right? This ladder that's been set up from the earth to heaven. And in his dream, he see angels ascending and descending. Now, those of y'all who know where I'm going, y'all probably like, dude messed up. Dude messed up when he said that, right? Those of y'all who know where I'm going, and some of y'all reading right behind my head right now, y'all can see where I'm going, right? Dude messed up, right? Because this is based off the dream that Daniel had. The prophet Daniel had a dream. Nebuchadnezzar had the dream before the prophet Daniel had the dream. And now we see from what the sages said, the sages in Midrash Tanhuma attributed this same dream to this dream that Yaakov is having. Look at what they say. I'm going to take my picture down. I want y'all to say exactly what they saying so we can see that this guy does not know prophecy at all. Let's see what he's saying. And I'm going to close out with this. This is a good. I'm glad we got to this. We can end on this one. All right, let's look at this. It says, he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up upon the earth. The top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. They came from Genesis 28:12, right? Rabbi Shemuel ben Nehemiah declared, these are the guardian angels of the idolatrous nations. What does he mean? He explained further. This verse teaches us that the Holy One, blessed be he, showed Ya'acob, our father, the guardian of Babylon, ascending 70 rungs of the ladder and descending. Now, oh man, y'all really gonna like this. Now, especially for people that's in our prophecy class at Gethsemane Spiritual Temple Congregation, who I'm affiliated with, we got this prophecy class, and we went through all of this. From Nebuchadnezzar's dream to Daniel's dream, it was the same thing. It talked about Babylon conquering first, then Media and Persia, then Greece, and then it doesn't say Rome. I know we all know Rome came after Greece, but guess what the sages called Rome? The sages, not Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, Hebrew Israelites saying it now, but guess where they got it from? The sages, the rabbis. The rabbi said this in a prophecy that this guy said, it's phony baloney prophecy, it's not there. That's why I said, well, maybe he is a Karaite, and maybe he didn't read this. Because if he would have read this, he would have never said that dumb mess he just said out his mouth. All right, let's look at this. It says, he showed Ya'acob our father the guardian angel of Babylon. Remember Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, ascending 70 rungs of the ladder and descending. The guardian angel of Media, remember Media in Persia, ascending 52 rungs of the ladder and descending. The guardian angel of Greece, ascending 100 rungs of the ladder and descending. And the guardian angel of Edom does not say Rome. Let me put my face up here because I want y'all to see me. Does not say Rome. Does not say Rome. We know, anybody who study history knows that the kingdom that came into power after Greece was Rome. Our ancestors, the sages, the rabbis of old, did not call them Rome. They called them Edom. That's who they was called. Edom. So look at what it says. It says the guardian angel of Edom ascending the ladder. Yaakov did not know how many rungs of the ladder the guardian angel of Edom mounted. He therefore cried out in terror. Perhaps Edom will never be compelled to descend. This is what the book of Malachi, this is what the book of Malachi, or whatever book it was he was quoting. This is what they're speaking of, right? And we see in the book of Avadia, right? This is what he talked about, where he says, as Edom tries to build up, he's going to tear down and destroy. This was it. The sages taught that was a promise to our father, because he's seen all these other kingdoms rising up and coming back down. All the other kingdoms that he saw, all of them, they rose up and they came back down. But Edom never came down. The sages teach that Edom is the last kingdom that's going to have us under their control. In the last days, it is the last kingdom. After Edom is no other kingdom. That's when we will be established. So that's not the Hebrew Israelites teaching that. And just, that's just a Hebrew Israelite. That's our ancestors taught that. So to say Edom is gone and ain't in existence no more and just disappeared out of history is a lie. We'll be going against the very words that our ancestors wrote. The very words of the rabbis we'll be going against with saying that. The very words that the rabbis wrote, we'll be going against saying that. Look at what it says here. It says, Yaakov, because he didn't see Edom coming down, he said, perhaps Edom will never be compelled to descend. In other words, Edom going to rule over us forever. The Holy One, blessed be he, then said to him, fear not, O Yaakov, my servant, neither be dismayed, O Yisrael. And that's from Jeremiah 30:10. But even though you see him ascending unto my throne, as though that were possible, I will cast him down. As it is said, though thou wert to rise as high as an eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, I will bring thee down from thence, says Yahweh. Look at what it says. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back to this, right? This is something that we need to see. We see that it's steady talking about Edom, right? This is in Midrash Tanchuma. Let's let it be known. Let's let it be known, kid. Let's let it be known. I read the books. So you talk to somebody that reads and studies this. This is what I do. My brothers and sisters from back in the day probably like, oh man, he a problem now. He was a problem when he used to be on here typing stuff, typing them long excerpts and had us in these long battles. Now we got a microphone and a camera. He really a problem. Yes, that's me. I don't got all this gray in my beard for nothing. So I read this. This is what I do, right? So I'm definitely going to come back next week and do part 2 of this as we continue to dismantle this brother and all the stuff he's saying, because it's nonsense. He's saying he debunked something and he didn't. He just walked himself into a trap. He said that Edom is gone and there's no more Edom. What are you talking about? Our ancestors taught that Edom is the last kingdom to be defeated. That's what our ancestors taught. That's what's in the Midrash Tanchuma. We're gonna read through that for a minute next week so we can get that understanding. So when he sits there and says, "Oh, that's been debunked," what are you talking about? You sound crazy. He debunked nothing. But we're going to debunk him. So I just want to say shalom to everyone. Thank everyone for being a part of this. And again, really appreciate you all for staying with me this long, if y'all stayed. And for people that's going to share this and reshare this, because this is going to be a good one. And again, next week, I'm going to touch on it some more and deal with this some more and really break down some things. All right, everyone. So thank you again for everything. Shalom.